The mosh pit is sacred, and anybody who's anybody should do everything they can to uphold the prestige, honor, and respect of this very special place. But there are some agents of chaos out there that want to tear it down. There are people out there disrespecting the mosh pit, and I will not stand for it, okay? But today, we're not going to be talking about any of that per se. We're just going to be going over the history and the importance of the mosh pit. And in later videos, we're going to go through the people that are tearing it down, the people that don't want you to mosh, the people that hate moshing, and you'll be so surprised who these people are. Hey ladies, how's it going? It's your friendly neighborhood gatekeeper Dan Frampton here today, and we're going to talk about where mosh came from. It's a very confusing story. It's very muddled. It comes from all over the world. You got parts coming from California, New York, and London. It's so mixed. You're not going to get a congruent through line here. This is an amalgamation of things that have happened all over the world and all over the space-time continuum. But we're going to break it down era by era, and first we're going to go back to the late 70s, early 80s California scene, where I think is a great place to start for this kind of thing. In the late 70s, early 80s, when punk rock music started to become a little bit more aggressive and people started describing it as hardcore, people would then use this music as an outlet of their aggression. And from an outsider's point of view, they would see that as violent. But this was not violent. They were basically just jumping up and down, grabbing on each other's shoulders or whatever, and the first version of this kind of thing was called pogo, okay? Because they were just jumping up and down. And one of the first godfathers of this pogo style is credited to be Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols, okay? Because he wasn't always the bass player in the Sex Pistols, he was a fan. And when the bands would play, he would just come in all rambunctious, jumping up and down, and people would be like, what's up with this Sid guy? He's just bouncing all around. But even then, he wasn't known as Sid Vicious yet. He didn't get his punk rock name until he joined the band. And as we moved into the 80s, people started to refer to this style of dancing as mashing, okay? And this band called Scream had a song called Total Mash, and in fanzines all over the place, it was called mashing. But now in comes Bad Brains, and when they're telling their audience to mash, through his accent, through the accent of HR the frontman, it starts to sound like mosh. So it's taken a couple years to go from just known as pogoing to now known as moshing. We've barely dipped our toes in, and we've already been to California, London, and DC. Anthrax put out this song called Caught in a Mosh, but they don't take any credit for the term mosh. It was something that was just going around, but this is one of the first official instances of it being written down and distributed. But the guys in Anthrax would credit the term moshing to Vinny Stigma of the New York hardcore band Agnostic Front. And this guy is still going to this day, just about as hardcore as ever. Just take a look at this Vinny dude. This is the guy that came up with the term moshing. Are you serious? So now we got HR trying to call it mashing, but it coming out moshing, and now Vinny over here in New York. So we've been to California, London, DC, and now New York, and it's officially called moshing. You see how this is muddled and confusing, and you're gonna get a different story depending on who you talk to? And those insufferable people that were around at the time are gonna leave comments in this video and go onto Reddit and be like, no, I was there at the time. I know who came up with moshing. I know what moshing is. But in today's etymology, this is kind of how it looks on the internet. So if you have any better idea of where moshing came from, please let me know down below. But until then, we're going to talk about the evolutions of pogoing, mashing, and moshing, okay? Because now we've got something that's known as the circle pit. Now that's not necessarily a mosh pit in the shape of a circle. No, come on, that's just a regular old mosh pit. A circle pit is when people are running in a circle. Now I don't typically love a circle pit unless there is moshing going on in the middle of that circle that you can then crowd kill the circle with, because then that is a lot of fun. And kind of the older brother of the circle pit is the wall of death. You'll see this thing typically at bigger festivals, and that's when the front person of a band will divide the audience all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and they'll create this chasm in the middle of the venue, and on the count of the front person, these two sides would run to the middle and collide with one another, known as the Wall of Death. Not typically a punk rock thing, not typically a hardcore thing, more of a big metal festival type thing. And with all those different kinds of pits, the most sacred, the most important kind of mosh pit is the hardcore mosh pit. And if you want to learn how to hardcore mosh, you're going to go to wikihow.com/hardcore dancing. Here we're going to get some great infographics and the proper steps. So first, you want to wait for the music to break out. And then you just want to listen to the music and go with the flow. Look at this guy about to crowd kill. And then you're gonna bust out a nice little two-step. Just two-step your heart out. And then when you feel free, you just windmill like a motherfrigger. And then you think you got all those skills handled. How about a jumping spin kick? Throw in some spin kicks if there's room, or maybe try something that's unique. There's a lot of things I'm not seeing here, like how to donkey kick, how to floor punch, how to pick up change, how to back elbow, how to back fist, how to power stomp. There are so many hardcore dance moves that are not covered here in the wiki how. And here we have step 6. If the song seems to stop abruptly, but the band still looks ready to go, then you're in for a breakdown in any second. Oh, it's so silly. Now, another way the mash has evolved is into the stage dive. There's a couple different kinds of stage diving. At a festival, if you stage dive, you're probably gonna get crowd surfed all the way around, okay? If you're at a hardcore show, you could stage dive, and that's just basically like doing high-flying wrestling moves. You're basically just throwing your body at another person. If they catch you, great, but it's probably gonna lead to a counter attack. And there are so many different kind of stage dives, so many variants. I have a whole series on this channel called Pit Pros where I go into all of it. So if you haven't seen any of my episodes of Pit Pros, go to my channel now, search out that playlist, and watch yourself some of the best dang entertainment on this platform. I dedicated 100 episodes, nearly 2 years of my life, to this style of content. I'm very proud of it, but people took a lot of offense to the nicknames I gave people when it all came into good fun. Pit Pros caused a lot of drama, so if you want to see the nucleus of all that, you'll find that in the playlist as well. But now we're going to talk about some of the agents of chaos that you might not expect to hate moshing. Over here we got Glenn of Spectre Sound Studio being like, crowd killing is for complete morons. Now, I have a lot to say on this topic, okay? If you're waiting for the music to start to just like cold cock someone in the face, yeah, that's clearly not cool, okay? But crowd killing sounds a lot more intense than it actually is. It just basically means throwing your body into people that are around the pit. And you're around the pit because you want to be close to the action. If you want to be close to the action at a hardcore show, you know that there's going to be body-to-body contact. But if the moment that first guitar chord hits and you hit this girl with an elbow, then you're a loser and you're gonna get beaten up. And here's another person that's famous for disrupting the sanctity of the mosh pit. Now, this is one of my heroes. I love Minor Threat. We're gonna be talking about Ian MacKaye. And that's why I came on all bald style right now, because it kind of suits the video. And not all bald people hate the mosh. But in Minor Threat, he wasn't really famous for hating the mosh. He was embracing the mosh. It wasn't until Fugazi happened that he was like, stop moshing, and if I catch you moshing, I'm gonna pull you up onto stage. This is literally something he did, and I'm gonna make you apologize to the room full of people on the microphone for the abhorrent behavior that you just engaged in. Very silly, Ian MacKaye. You gotta support the mosh. And we're gonna round the bases here. If you wanna support moshing in the form that it is today, digitally online, you're gonna go over here to Instagram.com and follow Not a Push Pit. This guy kind of curates all the coolest mosh clips from all over the internet, and here you'll see what moshing actually looks like. What's your favorite way to express enjoyment of music? Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. Ring the bell if you're cool as hell, and until my next upload, you can watch another upload.